Hello everyone, hello Via Francigena friends and Via Francigena pilgrims. Welcome back to this new exciting broadcast live by the Via Francigena and during the aperitif time to talk about the Via Francigena and cultural roots, sharing with you our great passion. Today we are going to discover an important section of the extension of the Via Francigena on the way to Turkey. As you probably know, the Via Francigena, one of the main pilgrimages of the medieval time, was a part of the routes network, taking pilgrims to Santiago de Compostela, Jerusalem, and Rome. On its way to Rome, the Via Francigena crosses the southern Italy, the Via Francigena of the south, the Balkans, Greece, and Turkey. This geographic area is at the center of attention of our live broadcast today. We will discover local and international roots there, their culture, local tradition, and gastronomy. We also speak about projects carried out by our guests from the Turkey Culture Roots Society and the recent study visit in the Apulia last year along the Via Francigena of the South. We will host Kate Clough, hiker and chairperson of the Culture Roots Society. We will also talk with both Usain Eriyurt, traveler and a project coordinator of the Cultural Roots Society, and Elena Dubinina, cultural roots expert, globetrotter, and passionate hiker. So, okay, guys, our guests probably, if they are there, still there, they will join us. Here we are. Hello, everyone. Ciao.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. And first of all, many thanks for accepting our warm invitation. There are some friends that is here, is online. Salute, David. Hello, everyone. Hi, Bergs. Hi, Els. And thank you for sharing with us this broadcast live. And so again, welcome, Kate. Welcome you. Welcome, Elena. And thank you for accepting this invitation. And yeah, it's a pleasure. And first of all, can you share with us, can you say with us where you are now and exactly?
We are in Antalya in Turkey on the Mediterranean coast, and we are in the Culture Roots Society office.
Yeah, what is going?
Yeah.
No COVID, yeah.
No COVID, no. We've just finished our lockdown and Antalya is just beginning to take off again as a holiday destination.
Yeah.
Good to know. And Elena, what about you?
Well, I've been in Italy, in the north of Italy, in the hometown of the Via Francigena in Fidenza, next to Parma. And we are having a very, very sunny day today. So I am sending sunny vibes and blue sky to everyone who is watching us, wherever you are.
So Fidenza is the center of the world, exactly. A special thanks to Pierre Foustier, a friend of the Via Francigena, the Balkan area, and the Via Eurasia. Nice to hear you, this road to Turkey. Thank you, Pierre, for sharing with us your thought. To David and Gerardo from the Via Francigena on the south. So, okay, it's a nice and exciting broadcast live about this exciting project, the Via Eurasia. Kate, we can start with you. If you can, could you please briefly introduce yourself? And if you introduce this new project of the Via Eurasia, probably the longest walking route from Italy or from England to Turkey. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Luca. As you can probably tell, I'm English, but I'm also Turkish. I live in Turkey, and I've lived here for 30 years now, I think. But when I came to Turkey, there were no walking routes. So having messed around a bit working in Istanbul and so on, I decided to make a walking route, and that was Turkey's first, which was called the Lycian Way. But by 2012, Turkey had several walking routes. And at that time, we were invited to Florence to participate in a pilgrimage tourism conference. And there we met Massimo. And Massimo had been working on the Via Francigena for many, many years and had the ambition to extend it towards the east. as a much longer distance pilgrimage route. And at that time, the Via Francigena del Sud was just a little baby then, I think. But Massimo and Hugh and I discussed the routes, extending the route, and we decided that we could probably work together in future. So we made an agreement, the Via Francigena and us in Turkey. And at that time, we only had a few routes. Our routes weren't complete at that stage. But we had the ambition of extending our routes towards Europe to make a cultural route. And somehow we thought we could join up in the Balkans and make a route which ran all the way from Canterbury through Rome to Bari and Brindisi, and use the Via Egnatia to cross the Balkans to Turkey, and then from Turkey use our routes from the Greek border down to the Mediterranean coast. So the whole route now is 4,025 kilometers from Rome to the south coast of Turkey, which is quite a long way. From Canterbury, I think it's more like 5,500 kilometers.
Kate, have you already walked the entire Via Regia?
No way, not yet. No, I've walked a little bit in Italy. I've walked, and I've walked quite a lot of the Turkish routes. But no, the Greek part is totally new to me. Fortunately, we have a very good partner, Holger, who has done all the research on the Via Egnatia and has provided with all the information, the photographs. He's written the book of the route and so on. And he's a wonderful person to work with. So we're very happy to have joined up our partners in Albania, in Greece, in Holland, and all our Turkish partners to make the move.
Thank you, Kate, because the Via Francigena too, the European Association of Via Francigena, you mentioned before Massimo, the president of the Via Francigena Association. We are really proud to be partner of this ambitious and innovative project. And so I hope that we can have an important follow-up about this Turkey, Greece, and Italy on food. And what about the Cultural Roots Society in short? Because are you managing many cultural roots in Turkey?
Yes, we have a total of something like 21 routes, and they're spread all over Turkey, right from the Greek border to the border with Georgia in the east. Some are quite long ones. The longest one we have, I think, is 850 kilometers, and the shortest one is about 100 kilometers. So they're very, very different from each other. One runs around the edge of Istanbul, for example. Another one is to Turkey's highest mountain, which is Mount Ararat at 5,000 meters. So there's a huge variety of routes in Turkey.
This is the map containing the main cultural routes in Turkey. But we can get back to later about a special route like a Lycian Way and other important routes. Thank you, Kate, for this introduction. And then, Elena, about you, in the framework of this project, Italy, Greece, and Turkey on food. Last year, exactly 1 year ago, it was an amazing, interesting educational study visit in the south of Italy along the Via Francigena. And could you tell us about this long study visit for 5 or 6 days?
Yes, of course. Well, I have to say that was not really a study visit, that was a fun visit, because we had such an amazing experience on the Via Francigena of the South that it was studying and enjoying yourself, of course, because that's what you do when you hike with such amazing people. So we had our study visit in the framework of the Via Eurasia project along the Via Francigena of the South. And for those who doesn't know, Via Francigena of the South is the part of the Via Francigena going from Rome to Santa Maria de Leuca. And Santa Maria de Leuca is on the very top, on the very tip of the boot of the boot, because Italy, here you can see that Italy has a shape of a boot. So on the very heel of it, there is Santa Maria de Leuca. And this is a route which is partially based on Via Appia, which is a Roman route. And it's been added to the classic Via Francigena, the Via Francigena of Sigeric. A part of the Via Francigena of the South, which is included in the Via Eurasia, is the one from Rome to Bari. And what we explored is the area which was in the Gargano Park and also along the coast next to Bari. So we started our travel in Monte Sant'Angelo, which is a very important place for people all over the world, as it's very famous for its sanctuary. Here on the picture, you can see the sanctuary of Saint Michael Archangel. As they say, Saint Michael appeared in Monte Sant'Angelo a couple of times, showing a place where he wanted the sanctuary to be founded. So here you go. That is a great place for reflection and for soul searching, and also for searching for yourself, I suppose, for self-development. So what we did is we discovered the city, and thanks for a local association, which is called Friends of the Via Francigena in Monte Sant'Angelo. We also had a couple of hikes, because Monte Sant'Angelo is also famous for its hermitages, where back in the day, the lonely monks preferred to spend their time praying. And right now you can make very many different hikes exploring the area in these mountains. So we explored those areas, as well as we went for a different hike between Monte Sant'Angelo and San Giovanni Rotondo. And for those who doesn't know, San Giovanni Rotondo is a very important place as well for worship, as it is a sanctuary of Saint Pio. So we did this trip as well, which is not exactly the Via Francigena of the South, it's one of the variants. And as we were all hoping to move a lot, preparing ourselves for a bikini season and lose a couple of kilos, it didn't happen. Since you just eat so much and the food is so yummy and so amazing in the whole area. And if you don't know, Monte Sant'Angelo is very famous for its bread. So a couple of pictures ago, I suppose you saw a photo or an image of this bread, of this very big bread. It looked like that, very round. So apparently, this is a secret recipe of Monte Sant'Angelo, which they don't really share with the others. So they didn't explain us in details what exactly is this bread, but it has this very, it's very fluffy and very crunchy on the top. So when you eat it, you do like this. And what happened to us is we put lots of local honey and some local cheese, and we just ate it till there was no space in the stomach. So the bikini season was ruined. The bikini season was ruined from the day first of the study trip, and then it was going on a very fast pace of eating, I would say.
Elena, what about this cheese?
What?
What about this cheese? It's not Parmigiano Reggiano.
No, this is not Parmigiano Reggiano. It's a very special local cheese, which is called Caciocavallo, and it's in this very special shape. Mm-hmm. So I would say it's a perfect cheese for a traveler or for a hiker, because you can easily put it in your bag, and then when you're hungry, you just take it and you eat it. And after our discovery of Monte Sant'Angelo, and it's called Monte, it means it's in the mountains. Of course, we went downside to go to the seaside, and we discovered the maritime Via Francigena of the South, which was amazing. That was a very special experience because, first of all, the color of the Via Francigena of the South is blue. It's just blue all the time. You see the blue sky, then you see the sea, and you walk, and you have this very special experience of being united to the nature, because mostly the route is in the nature, and you see the trees, the olive trees, the figs. You see the sea, and here you can see a very special church. It's the coastal church of Trani, because it's situated just next to the sea. So it gives you this amazing experience of, as I said, soul searching, but also connecting to the nature. And after Trani, we visited Polignano a Mare, which again was quite interesting, because you can see that the town was animated by poetry. Like, this is the picture where you can see a little poem, which was just written on the wall of the building. And we were walking there saying, oh, there's poetry all around you. So that's quite a breathtaking experience when you walk and you see all this incredible heritage. And what also is very nice is that you can always jump in the sea. You can always swim if you feel like. But we were there in May and the sea was not that warm, but I guess that was still possible. But yes, exactly the sea. You see it and you just fall in love. How can you not? Especially when you walk, during your walk, you can always see the sea on one side. And that's very tempting. You can choose between, choosing going to your destination. In our case, that was Polignana Mare and having an amazing lunch, or just skipping lunch and go swimming and jump in the sea.
Nice choice.
After the Polignano, we went to Bari, and Bari was quite a discovery for us because our group consisted of representatives of Turkey. And Turkish people were very happy to come to Bari because Saint Nicholas, which is the patron of Bari, is very famous in Turkey because originally he was buried in Demre. And I believe this is quite a cosmic connection for our project because Demre is also on the Via Francigena. So our study visit ended in Saint Nicholas Place, which actually gives us a continuation to go on the Via Francigena till it's one of its ending points in Demre. That was quite an experience, quite a discovery. And here you can see a couple of pictures of us discovering more the coastal part. Apart from eating, which happened a lot, we also discovered a lot of local culture and local people. And we realized that local people, those are the real treasure of the route. Because even if you don't speak the language, if you don't understand much, they are so happy to welcome you, to show you around, and to accommodate you, that you have a feeling to be in this extended family, an extended family of Via Francigena and then Via Francigena as well, which gives you really warm sensations, and you feel really welcome. I believe that this road is going to be very happening very soon, because Via Francigena of the South is not that crowded as other roads. And also, it's very welcoming during all the seasons. If you feel like going in the end of winter or in the beginning of the springtime, it's already great. The climate is very nice and very welcoming. So I would say we should go now, hiking there. Otherwise, it will be too crowded in a couple of years.
No, thank you, Elena, for sharing your passion and enthusiasm. And Puglia region is one of the most active players for the development of the Via Francigena of the South. And special thanks to the Puglia region, and is a partner of this project. Elena, which is your favorite food in Apulia?
Well, I can't judge because there's too much. As I said, my bikini season was ruined for like 6 months after that trip, and the trip lasted only 10 days. But I have to say that in Bari, we tried a lot of seafood, very many different seafood, which was very yummy and very nice. Very nice to have seafood in front of the sea. I would say it was this one. What about you, Hugh? What did you eat which impressed you the most?
I think it was the local cheese in Monte Sant'Angelo, the one you just described. That was the first time for me to try, and yes, I cannot forget that. I will definitely go back and have more of it.
No, in any case, also thanks for these amazing pictures, and then so inspiring. And then I really want to invite you all to discover the Via Francigena of the South, in this case the Apulia region, in this case the Monte Sant'Angelo. There are many friends, associations, and local communities involved in the development of the Via Francigena. I want to share with you 2 messages. The first one is Michel Thomas Penel. Ciao Michel, special greeting to Michel, the former director of the Institute of Cultural Route in Luxembourg. Good to see the progress of the route in this amazing landscape, linking east and west. The Via Francigena is an important bridge connected the Middle Europe and the Balkan area. A tremendous and politically useful initiative for the intercultural dialogue. Hello to everybody. Hi again, Michelle. And this message from Linda. It was very inviting and inspirational. Hope to walk there someday. Starting from the Netherlands. It's a long way from Netherlands. Ciao. And perhaps we can move to we can cross the Adriatic Sea. We can move to the other part of the coast, Albania and the Balkan area. Kate, Elena has already mentioned the ancient Roman road, Via Egnatia, connected with the Via Appia. I can ask you if you can introduce the Via Egnatia from Durrës to Istanbul, more or less more than 2,000 or around 2,000 kilometers.
Yes, it's an enormously long route. Now, we were talking about the Via Francigena del Sud, which is made up of the Via Appia and then the Via Traiana. And so those two lead from Rome to Bari. And they were the backbone of the Roman Empire, because a lot of the wheat that Rome needed to feed its people was landed at Bari and shipped across these two roads to Rome, so that the population could be fed during the whole season. But when the Romans started to spread their wings and conquer the Greece to move towards the east, they had to build a new road. So their port on the Adriatic was Durrës, Dyrrhachium, and at Dyrrhachium there are many, many Roman remains. The theatre, the forum, and many other parts of the old city are still intact. So from Dyrrhachium, they built a road towards Thessaloniki and towards Constantinople. The first stage didn't go quite as far as Constantinople. It went to the Marmara Sea, just south of Constantinople. But it was a total of about 950 kilometers long. And from Dyrrhachium, it followed a river route inland into Albania, and then up over a pass to Lake Ohrid, and round the north side of Lake Ohrid, which is in North Macedonia, and then to the Greek border, and a long, long route across Greece from from west towards the east. Now, the route was built by a guy called Gaius Egnatius, who was a consul. It was built around 260 BC, before the Common Era, and it cost a fortune to build. It was the first major Roman road outside the Italian peninsula. It was mainly a military road. It was a road of conquest to start with, not a trading route. But eventually, after the battles had been fought, the land had been settled, the provinces had been set up, it was transferred to the Senate from the military, and it became a trading route. And it was in beautiful condition. It was paved nearly all the way along. Some parts were gravelled, but a lot of it was paved. It had some beautiful bridges on it because it had to cross many, many rivers. And it stood the test of time. In fact, it was still being used in the medieval times by the Crusaders as they started on their journeys towards from Europe towards Jerusalem. In fact, it was in such good condition that on the Via Egnatia, they could use their carts to carry their belongings. So they used four-wheeled carts pulled by oxen. And this was about 1100, or 1100, 1200. But then when they got to the Bosphorus, to Turkey, and tried to cross into Asia Minor, the carts just sank into the mud and they had no method of transporting all their goods. So they had to switch to camels and to horses to carry on their journey towards the east. But it just shows you how long this road lasted. It was probably 1,200, 1,300 years before it became unusable. And later on, again, the Ottoman Empire, which was centered at that time in Constantinople, which then became Istanbul, they started to push across westwards across the Balkans, and they used the same road. They had a great architect called Mimar Sinan, He rebuilt the road, he rebuilt the bridges, repaired the road, and the Via Egnatia carried on being used really until the Second World War. It was an incredible feat of engineering. And during the Second World War, the Italians repaired parts of it in Albania so that they could use it again. Now, as you can tell, roads are my subject. I love roads. I'm sure they bore everyone else to death. But one of the things about the Via Egnatia is that there are stretches of 2,000-year-old road that you can walk on.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kay, for this introduction. I have quite a technical question about the modern Via Egnatia. If I want to go there, to walk along the Via Egnatia today, I know, for example, there is a guide written by Olga de Brink. But what about the accommodation, the signposts? It is safe, the route now? I can walk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a guidebook for the Albanian. This is in English, a guidebook for the first half of the route, 500 kilometers from Durrës to Thessaloniki. And yes, the book has lists of pensions in it. There are, in Albania and in Macedonia and in Greece, not every night. You won't find a pension every night, but nearly every night. And even in these countries are so hospitable that even if you turn up in a village without accommodation, without a reservation, without any definite plans, and go to the local cafe, then someone will look after you. Turkey is exactly the same, and Albania and North Macedonia. There, the population is extremely hospitable. The food is wonderful. It's a mixture of it's a mixture of Italian food, of course, because of the Romans, and Greek and Turkish food because of the Ottomans, and a wonderful experience there. You'll never feel on your own in these villages.
Yeah, thank you. It's another ancient and inspirational way, and so connected with the Via Francigena, the Apulia region of the south. And you, a question for you about what are the components of the Via Regia in Turkey? And then I have also another question for you. Is our guest Lucilla? Yeah. Could you suggest a good guidebook of the Turkish trails? And then a special greeting to the president, Massimo Tedeschi, is online. Hi, ciao Massimo.
Good to see you.
Yes, of course. About the question for the guidebooks, we have, as Kate mentioned, we have more than 21 trails, individual trails in Turkey, and almost all of them have guidebooks in English and Turkish, and you can find all of them on our websites, cultureroutsinturkey.com or trekkinginturkey.com. They both belong to us, and you can order the books online there. And we ship to Europe, to America, to Japan, everywhere. So that's how you can find the books. And about the components of Via Eurasia within Turkey. So as Elena described, it's the Via Francigena del Sud in Italy, and then it's the Via Egnatia taking over after the Adriatic. And when it comes to Turkey, we have a series of individual existing trails, cultural routes, most of which are hiking trails, but some of them are possible to do by biking or even horse riding, which I'm going to tell you shortly. So the first one of these, once the route enters Turkey from Edirne, Adrianopolis, hi Jane, which used to be called Adrianopolis, it's the Sultan's Trail, which follows the Ottoman borders, actually. The route goes up to Vienna, and there is an organization, a Dutch organization representing this trail, the Sultan's Trail Foundation. And so, as I said, the first trail within Turkey, the section of Via Eurasia is the Sultan's Trail, and it goes towards Istanbul. And as soon as you cross the continent to Anatolia, to Asia, you reach the second trail, which is called the Tolerance Way. The Tolerance Way has its theme based around early Christian times. And there was the Tolerance Declaration back then. Yeah, that's what the theme of this trail is. And we have in Izmit and Iznik area, right below Istanbul, we have our local partners there, which are in charge of this trail. There's a local organization, and the local municipalities support the route there too. And then that route is connected to Evliya Çelebi Way, which is one of my favorite routes in Turkey. Evliya Çelebi was this Ottoman gentleman traveler, a very famous traveler, who went almost every single town and village within the borders of Ottoman Empire, both in Turkey and outside Turkey. So this trail is following his journey to Mecca. That was his dream. Unfortunately, he couldn't complete that. So this trail is following his footsteps, or horse. What are they called? Hoof prints. Hoof prints of Evliya Çelebi's horse. This is the one that you can do by horse riding too. So on the western section of Turkey, this is where the entire trail is based. But Via Eurasia is using some parts of it, and then it's linked to the Phrygian Way. Sorry, we have one more small trail attached, an alternative route attached to the Evliya Çelebi Way. It's called Misya Ways, and Misya Ways are managed by the local municipality of Nilüfer in Bursa, and they were also our partner in this Via Eurasia project. And so going on, we come to the Phrygian Way. Phrygians were one of the most important civilizations, ancient civilizations based in Anatolia. And you get to see beautiful examples of their ancient roads there in this region around Bursa down towards Eskişehir. And that's where the route is linked to the St. Paul Trail. And I guess everyone knows who St. Paul was. So the route was initiated back in 2012. 2004. It was Kate who opened that after the Lycian Way. And it's following the footsteps of St. Paul, this important religious character. So finally, the route comes down to the Mediterranean coast, where it joins the Lycian Way. So what we did, the Lycian Way, I think Kate will be talking more about that because it's her own route. And so what we did was to join all these individual routes and create the Turkish section of Via Eurasia. And as you can see, the theme of individual routes is quite diverse, culturally and historically, both in the past and in present. So once you walk the Via Eurasia in Turkey, you will get to see this diversity, hopefully. And yeah, I think these are the main individual components of Via Eurasia within Turkey.
So thank you. You have an amazing heritage in Turkey, combining different and several elements from culture. And I have in my hands a very useful map about information about all different routes in Turkey. Which is your favorite route in Turkey? Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, I had my favorite route in the eastern part of Turkey, the Abraham's Path, which is not part of Via Eurasia anyways, but that route is closed at the moment. But speaking about Via Eurasia routes, as I said, I think Evliya Çelebi Way, because of its theme and the beautiful geography around Bursa, which is my hometown, by the way. So I think that's my favorite.
Thank you. And Elena, another question for you, because you, as already mentioned, the Misya Way is one of the other way included in the list of the hiking cultural routes in Turkey. Did you visit the Misya Way last year during another educational study trip? So if you can tell us a little bit more about this experience on the ground.
Yes, thank you very much, Luca. last summertime, we had a meeting in Nilüfer, and Nilüfer is a municipality next to Bursa. And during this meeting, we had one more study visit along the local routes, which is called the Misia Ways. And this study visit was all about learning about the local communities and learning about the community-based tourism and about interaction and cultural dialogue between the visitors and the locals. So what happened for us is we had a very nice, easy hike for one day. We started in the village of Misi, which is not so far away from Bursa. And Bursa is a big city in Turkey, not so far away from the Marmara Sea. And there was a mixture of ancient roads and a contemporary forestry road. But it's very nice because you're always in the shadow, so there is not that much sun, which is burning you in the middle of the summer in Turkey. And what we discovered is the very welcoming local people and local communities. There is a cooperative of local women who prepared food for us and also gave us some drinks and some pastries. And I have to say that was a very special experience because as a foreigner, I didn't speak Turkish. But I could speak with my heart to these people because they were so generous and so welcoming. And also you could feel the energy which they had. You could feel the energy that they were very interested to develop their business, to develop what they were cooking, because they were making some pastries and also some jams. And they were very keen to develop it even more. So we had a very interesting dialogue about it. Also, we discovered that in that area, there were many Greek Orthodox people historically living, and we visited a museum of migrants, of migration culture in that area, and we learned about the coexistence of different groups of people, ethnic groups, religious groups in that area, about their peaceful living together, which was a very interesting example of, again, intercultural dialogue and cohesion, implemented in a way of a museum. Here you can see the pictures of these women. They were very happy when I asked them, let's take a picture together. So they were trying to make themselves beautiful, and then we took a picture. So, it's very important. I believe it's very important to communicate, to try to communicate to local people, because for them, it's also a discovery. It's like traveling from your house, traveling from your heart. When you meet new people and you can talk, and, I learn from them and they learn from me. Here you can see the picture of the museum, of that migration culture museum, which was very interesting because honestly, not so many people know about the history of migration in Turkey and about the Greek Orthodox living in the area. And so that was quite an educational trip for us. I would like to say that the municipality of Nilüfer, which is a member of the project of the Via Eurasia, is doing an incredible work of involving the local population and also promoting their local route, because this road it's very relaxing. I mean, it's very easy to take. It doesn't have that much open places where you can get too much sun. You eat really well, and I stress it. You eat really well there, and you learn a lot. You learn a lot about the culture and the traditions there, which I believe is the most important from the travel and the discovery of the areas.
Elena, do you prefer tea or Turkish coffee?
Well, it depends on the time of the day, because you can have tea in the morning, and then in the afternoon you take a little bit of coffee. Really depends on the time of the day. I can't say I have a preference, but I guess one of the pictures, if you have those, was showing one of our local partners, friends from Izmit, who was looking at my empty coffee cup and telling me my fortune, saying about my future. I remember he told me I will get a fat cat. So in this sense, I prefer coffee because it's a fun drink which has an aftertaste of a fortune teller.
Thank you, Elena. I know that this study visit was also so useful to meet local people and the local community, the municipality, just to make connection in the framework of this project. And you, in the framework of this European project, Italy, Greece, and Turkey food. That was another amazing, important, you can say, event, or was the road show, the road show in Greece and in Turkey. I can ask if you can introduce this important action in the
No,
project.
of course. This was one of the most colorful, maybe the most colorful activity of our project. So this was a promotional activity. What we did was to decorate a minivan and start from the Lycian Way, this end, the Turkish end of Via Eurasia, and go all the way up to Edirne, to the northern section of Via Eurasia in Turkey, and promote the route with all the material we had, all the visual promotional material like films, books, and whatever we had. And you see the van here, which was decorated by all the project requirements and everything. And it got lots of attention from the local audience wherever we went. So as Culture Route Society, one of our main goals is to involve local communities in the management of our trail, as well as the local authorities like municipalities and other administrations. And we want local people to benefit these routes, so they are the owners of our routes. And so, as I said, we started from the Lycian Way and went to every single town along the Via Eurasia within 2 weeks, wherever we could go. And we did the same thing in Greece, by the way. So wherever we went, we showed them the movies produced under the project and introduced the cultural elements of the route to the audience. And as I said, we are also trying to involve local administration, because we want to give them a word in the management of these routes. And this is something we experienced, we observed in Italy, in the Via Francigena route management model. And apparently it worked quite well there. And we are trying to implement the same thing here in Turkey on our routes, thanks to these local municipalities who showed great interest and willingness to participate, to join, to support the route. And everything is going well in that sense. So we are planning to repeat something similar, these kind of promotional events in future too, both in Turkey and in Greece, or in the Balkans, in Albania too, with our new partners. And yeah, it was such a great opportunity to advertise, to publicize the route.
Yeah, I suppose you had a lot of fun too.
Oh, yes.
I think it was not so boring, your experience. And it's very good to hear about that. And then I think this kind of experience would be a very good experience to be replicated to the Via Francigena too, for example, along the entire route. Is important, again, to involve the local communities and local people. And Kate, we can maybe introduce the queen of the route in Turkey, the Lycian Way. I don't know the most. I know it's a fascinating route. I hope to discover the route, to join the route very soon. During the summer, it's so hot. It's not the best season, but I have on my hand your guidebook. But I can ask you to introduce this fantastic route.
Okay. I came to Turkey first in the 1980s, late 1980s, and I did some walking around the hills near Antalya, and between Antalya and Fethiye, and realized that there were all these old roads, pre-Roman roads. They were roads from the Lycian period, which was the civilization that was in place in Turkey before the Romans arrived there. Not only roads, but all sorts of other settlements, buildings, everything from harbours to theatres to mountaintop towers to this sort of thing. This is a cistern. It was once full of water, and so on and so on. And nobody was using these roads. The old people still knew them. This is a guy called Mehmet Ali who told me about some old routes. The old people knew them, but people were drifting from the countryside to the towns. So when I first arrived, there were many, many shepherds in the hills with their flocks of goats and their black tents, black goat's hair tents and so on. But they were moving towards the cities. So gradually I started making contact and meeting these shepherds and asking them about old roads. We had no maps. The Turkish military maps were secret. It wasn't until later that I managed to steal some of them. But to start with, there were just no maps to use. So all I could do was walk from village to village and talk to the shepherds. But eventually I got a route together. It took a long time because of not having any maps. And at that time, there was no Google Earth, there was no GPS. It was very, very difficult indeed. However,
Kate, technically speaking, is it difficult this way?
No, it's 550 kilometers, 540 kilometers. It's not difficult. I wouldn't recommend walking it in summer. It gets too hot here. But if you take your time about it, it's not difficult. If you try to walk it too fast, then okay, you're going to get exhausted because there are some steep ups and downs. But it's a stony route, and it takes a little bit of practice to get used to walking on rough ground. It's not like walking on forestry tracks, but it's very, very pleasant because the routes climb up the cliffs, they go inland in places, they descend to the seashore again. So there are many places where you can stop and swim along the route. There are many places where you can either camp or stay in local pensions. And the food is really good. Because you're on the coast, there's seafood available in places. There's local cooking everywhere, local vegetables, and very, very good fresh food. And the local people will look after you. So when I made this route, to start with, the locals, they didn't know quite what to make of visitors. There were people walking past their doors, and they didn't know how to communicate with them, with foreigners walking in shorts. They never saw people in shorts. So they started by, come on in, have a cup of tea. They started giving them cups of tea. Then it was food. Then they asked them if they wanted to stay. And this was all done in sign language because none of the villagers could speak any English, of course. And as a result, the route takes about 25 days to walk. Now there's some, you can stay, there's a pension every night. In some villages, there are half a dozen pensions. And the villagers are making a really good living out of the route, and not this season, but in a normal season. They are quite comfortable. They love having visitors. They're really curious about them. And the visitors have real experiences, because they can stay anywhere from an old farmhouse to a smart new pension, to a goat's hair tent, to all sorts of different places. So the route is a really experience from the accommodation point of view, as well as the walking point of view.
How many people, Kate, walk the route every year around? How many pilgrims there are along the way each year?
Well, this is we don't exactly know. We think it's something like 25 or 30,000 people who walk it. But some people walk for 1 day or 2 days. Some people walk for 25 days. It's very difficult to measure the use of the route. But the villagers are happy, and the accommodation seems to be full most of the time. So, that's all I can say really about the user numbers.
And Kate,
counting people.
And a question for pilgrims and hikers: how do you get useful information? Okay, this is the road book. There is an app, website.
Yeah. our website, the Culture Roots in Turkey website, has pages just about the Lycian Way. Then there is the guidebook, which is in Turkish or English. And I think we're just about to print it in Russian, actually, I think, as well. And then we have an app. We're in the process of making 1 or 2 changes to the app. But if you look on the website, it'll tell you how to download the app, and it will take you. In fact, you can walk the whole of the Via Eurasia with this app. You can walk from Albania through Macedonia to Greece, into Turkey, and from northern Turkey right down to the Lycian Way with one application, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, very useful.
And that will take you right round then on the Lycian Way itself. The Lycian Way is very well used, actually. It's very difficult to get lost on it. It's well signed, it's well signposted, and the local people will soon point you in the right direction if you get lost.
Yeah, I see. So inviting this way. So yeah, now thank you, Claudia, for your message. And then next vacation, of course, you are welcome on the Lycian Way. It's this amazing international way, and then combining again history, heritage, and nature, and food and gastronomy. And the last question is for you. You are also hiker and pilgrim, and then one of the crucial point is the maintenance of the routes, signpostings and accommodation. And how are you taking this point especially along the most important way in Turkey? And what about the volunteering experience in the Cultural Society network?
Yeah, maintenance is another difficult job, but we are getting lots of volunteer support to maintain these routes. And when I say maintenance, it's basically clearing of the paths from the bushes and everything, and also waymarking. And we also erect signposts. And for the signposts, we get assistance from local municipalities again. But about the volunteer groups, Onat, our colleague in the office, is in charge of organizing a volunteer group, at least 2 every year. And this year it was around the St. Paul Trail and the Lycian Way again. Yeah. So the southern end points along the Via Eurasia. So what we do is to start to make an open call, an international call, and people from all around the world apply, and we make a sort of evaluation. And it's usually youngsters, but previously we also received elder people too, older people too. And so we try to provide them accommodation and daily needs like food and so on, and transport, local transport within Turkey. And again, local municipalities can support this. Alternatively, we get national or international funding, and we do this as a project activity. If nothing works, then we do it on ourselves, on our own expenses. But yes, we try to do this every year, and not only on the Lycian Way. This is important. We do that on other trails too. And previously, like 3 years ago, 2 groups worked around the Phrygian Way, smaller groups, by the way, and another one around Evliya Çelebi Way. And before then, they did volunteer group work around the Kaçkar, the Black Sea coast of Turkey. And yes, maintenance is important, but there's another important issue I would like to raise here. It's the conservation of these trails, because most of them are based on ancient cultural heritage. And in Turkey, it's quite difficult to protect tangible cultural heritage if they are not registered by the authorities. So what we try to do is, during these volunteer group activities, or whenever we walk out in the field, we try to observe if there's any historical remains, archaeological artifacts around. And whenever we spot something, we take notes and we take photos and we take GPS points. And when we come back to our office, we write letters to these authorities, the conservation committee, conservation councils in each province. So we just write letters and ask them to go check the stuff we find. And once they decide that this is an important archaeological evidence, then they take the entire region under conservation. This is so crucial for us because our routes are under constant threat, danger of constructive works like dams or I don't know, quarries, marble quarries, whatever. So this is very important together with the maintenance of routes too.
Thank you, you for sharing this experience, this important experience involving students and people and local communities. Again, is another experience to be replicated along the Via Francigena. And Eden, are you ready for the next holiday in Turkey? Which is your favorite route to walk?
Actually, I would love to join one of these volunteering camps because it looks so fun. It feels like...
Elena, please keep following our YouTube channels and our social media accounts. That's where we publish the open call for the next volunteer groups.
I'd love to join it because it seems like you get new friends and you learn so much about the nature and the culture, and you also explore these places of Turkey which are not really known for regular tourists.
Exactly. And if you watch the video clips on our YouTube channel, Cultural Society, you see how these people actually enjoyed working with Onat. We see him in the video here.
Obviously, they seem to becoming very good friends altogether, especially when you do an activity on the open air.
Yeah, it's a quite fun activity actually.
And where people come from?
Sorry?
Where these volunteers and people come from? From Turkey or from everywhere?
Really from all around the world. Actually, we have some of our volunteers watching the live broadcast now. I just saw Linda, who was here a few years ago, and they helped us both in the office and out on the trail too. And yes, mainly from Europe, but not only. For example, one of our long-term volunteers was from Peru and Chile, and another one from the States and Canada, dear Kevin. And
we've had people from Thailand, Bolivia, from Hong Kong, from all over Canada, several people from Canada. The Canadians seem to really enjoy coming and waymarking.
And some of them come back. They don't do the voluntary work for a week or two only. They come back to help us voluntarily in our office for longer terms, which is great, which we really appreciate.
Yes, and some of them just come back for the camps every 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, just for fun too.
Yeah, just for fun to meet up with friends again.
Yeah.
Nice, and nice to see this video.
The Russians really work so hard, Elena. You wouldn't believe how hard working they are. They're wonderful.
I can imagine.
And in any case, Kate, and you let us know about the next school. We really want to share this school in our network on the Facebook and
we will.
website. And then never say never. Maybe me too, I can join you during this summer camp. Nice. So I think it's 7 o'clock Italian time, 8 o'clock Turkish time. Here is the aperitif time. I don't know if in Turkish is the aperitif time or dinner time.
Yeah, dinner time.
Which is the most common aperitif in Antalya? Beer, tea.
Yes, I would also add piyaz, one of my favorite dishes. Yeah, it's actually beans with tahini.
Seems yummy. And Elena, are you ready for the beer, Campari or Prosecco? What do you prefer?
Oh yes.
Okay, all the package, including.
Making homebrew beer, so we've got a whole load of homebrew beer upstairs.
Kate, you, Elena, thank you very much on behalf of the Francigena network and family for accepting the invitation, for participating in this brilliant and dynamic live broadcast. And then thank you for our guests, for the viewers. This is a message from an expert of the, a friend of the Via Francigena. Thanks. Ciao, David. And then thanks for to be here again. And then, next broadcast live is next week on Tuesday about the Santo way. So again, about talking about European rules connected with the Via Francigena. So see you next week. Thanks, Kate, you, Elena. I hope to see you very soon in Turkey or in Italy. So bye-bye and ciao.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you. Good to see you both.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.